Hey, what's going on, everybody? On today's show, we got our early impressions of Starfield and some highlights from our Overwatch session, plus a little something extra. But first, let's roll the intro. Welcome back to the show, everybody. So this episode, we're going to talk a lot about Starfield because I have been playing some of this game now for roughly 10 hours, and I know that's not a lot, but I'm mainly going to focus on early impressions and my personal start with this game, things I like, things I'm concerned with, because there's a ton of early impressions and reviews about this game that I genuinely think don't necessarily tell the whole picture, to say the least. So here I am trying to give you as genuine of an impression as possible. So I got some bullet points that we're going to cover, everything from the performance of the game to how it controls to what I think about how it pulled me in on the start. And so let's just go ahead and get right to it.
Oh, yes. Normally I start my day by drinking 4 cups of coffee and stuffing my face with chunks. I thought to myself, what would the great and powerful hero of Vectera do?
Initially, I came into this game a little skeptical but optimistic. It's sci-fi. There's a sense of wonder in this universe that I'm looking forward to. So, is Starfield any good? Who is this game for? Does it live up to the hype? Spoiler, I'm already struggling to think that this game is going to be Game of the Year. I expect it to be nominated on popularity alone, and I'd also like to shut down, you know, any heat, because I do think that this game meets the criteria for success. I don't think it's a bad game. I do think it's rough around the edges, and I certainly don't think this game is a 10 out of 10. Now, that opinion may change. I at this time, still planning to play more of this game. It's definitely not doing a great job pulling me in. There's been a few other games that I played that had a much more impactful early impression where I was like, I can't wait to play more. And Starfield, in a similar Bethesda fashion, is a slow start. There's a lot of things that I struggled with when I got started with this game, and I'm going to kind of cover a few of them in this video here. Getting started, like I do with every game, is making sure the game runs at least well enough. And to no surprise, and after many videos of me trying to figure out how to optimize this game on a single PC setup, this game is junky. It doesn't run very well. It's stable, I guess you can say, and I think in many cases this game hasn't crashed on me. I don't believe so, but I've definitely found it difficult to find a good balance of quality to performance in frames, and I've wound up settling probably somewhere in the realm of like 45 FPS average, because I'm looking for an immersive experience, and for me, there is a level of graphical fidelity that I'm expecting in a game like this in order for me to stay immersed. Now, of course, there's always the debate of what's more important, graphics or performance, and I do think that there's a level of personal preference here, and that's just what I was looking for. But I found something I settled in on, which was in the realm of performance with minimal cost of quality. And I still think there's room to be desired. I imagine some of that quality and performance can get smoothed out later on, but I'm not holding my breath in that department.
Hey, I'll trade some weird space rock for a rescue anytime. Hope you figure out whatever that thing is.
Let's grab the artifact. Good work. Let's get back to the lodge.
I think I see that. Is that his cargo hold? Oh, can I just take stuff out of his cargo hold?
I would have done if you hadn't jumped in.
I can. Thanks, dude. We got ourselves over to the character creation screen, and honestly, I love it. It might have not been a ton of options, but generally I have a bit of a theme that I go with a lot of my character designs. I always make my character got blue hair. I kind of bring myself into the game a little bit, and I kind of make my avatar in this game space. It gave me what I was looking for. I was happy with the design, and I moved on to some of the more fun elements, the RPG elements, the background, and the traits. Eventually, I settled in after going down the list and understanding what the heck I was gaining from this. I settled on something, and my journey was there to start. Upon initially being greeted with the opening scenes, again, with digesting the potential performance jitters, eventually allowed myself to kind of settle in. And again, there's an immediate sense of, ooh, this scale is actually huge. Okay, I'm on board with this. I kind of like this. It was a little jarring still, coming from a game like Baldur's Gate, which has maybe just a better dialogue layout and the way it delivers its narrative. I believe the characters in Baldur's Gate a lot more than the characters that I was currently being introduced with in Starfield.
Barrett, the scanners on the frontier are reporting a ship coming in hot from orbit.
I really thought I lost them.
Barrett?
Now, I will say, again, that this is a big step in a direction away from the previous Bethesda experiences that I've had in the past, and I do think that already there's a level of fidelity that Starfield provides that just shows an improvement in the Bethesda scope. I definitely struggle with settling in for Bethesda games, and I have not been able to really sink my teeth into it. A lot of that had to do with the early stages of me wrestling with these rough around the edges design choices, and that starts with the UI and controls. Initially, the UI has this sleek design, but for some reason, I had a lot of conflicting previous knowledge in my head. This game is a first-person shooter in an RPG, or it's an RPG with a first-person shooter skin. And I wasn't expecting this to be the, top-tier first-person shooter controls or comforts, but there's a level of intuitive nature that I was kind of at least expecting. Things like where certain buttons are, things like selecting different weapons, or how we can potentially control the game. In the early encounter, they throw you right into a gunfight to give you just this idea of, hey, this is what to expect in the game. And I'm like, oh, cool. But things like immediately my brain's like, oh, cool. I can't wait to like slide behind cover. Corner peeking wasn't present. And it kind of just feels like a bit of an undersight. Now, I've heard that some of these quality of life experiences can be unlocked in skills, but not all of them. Such, I heard sliding can be made available, and that's fine. And I'm, again, not expecting very high marks in how it feels, but it just felt a little off. It didn't feel... It was just missing something. It took a lot of effort to try to rewire my brain to get away from a more traditional first-person shooter control schematic back to this RPG element. And I'm still struggling with that to this point where I'm now several hours in, and I've had to jump in and out of the settings menu, key bindings, to be like, what am I doing? Where is this? Things just were lacking a level of intuition. And part of that, I strongly feel, has something to do with its UI elements being catered towards controller players over mouse and keyboard. Yes, the game is absolutely functional with a mouse and keyboard, but it's a little overcomplicated and not streamlined in a lot of ways. Things like swapping weapons, which in every other first-person shooter game is on the scroll wheel, but then when you intuitively go to scroll for a different weapon, you zoom in and out of your character, which is, again, a jarring experience. Things like the scanner popped up, and in other games that use the scanner system, you can't select anything when you're in the scanner. It just kind of feels like you have to take multiple steps to kind of do the thing that your brain wants to do. And I personally don't find that to be a very intuitive experience. And maybe it's just me, but I feel like it's just conflict to what other more casual gamers may experience. And a game of this popularity, I do imagine, is going to pull the interest of first-person shooter players because it is marketed with a sense of gunplay in mind. Now, I do think this gunplay has some satisfying elements from what I've seen at the early stages, something that I'm looking forward to getting further into. But again, just really rough to start, and I just couldn't get a groove going. That being said, I'm still working on it. I'm still trying to figure out what feels right. I've picked up and put down the controller a couple of times. In some ways, navigating some UI elements felt really good with a controller over a mouse and keyboard. Like the initial character information screen, it looks like you could just spin it around with a joystick, and it makes more sense. And they're kind of quartered off, and it doesn't seem as intuitive for a mouse and keyboard. So in some of these situations, I found myself like automatically knowing what I was doing on a controller, and then the shortcoming on a controller is in fact the aiming with the gunplay. It's awful. I genuinely hate the way it feels aiming with a controller, but literally everything else feels great with a controller, more so than that of a keyboard. Maybe it's a personal struggle, but I'm really trying to show that there's something there that I think has conflicting design choices. Now, I just feel like some things don't add up. Some things don't make sense. Something that eventually most players, myself included, will get over and move on and eventually get comfortable with. It definitely did not contribute to, again, it was a lot of immersion breaking experiences. The tutorial and the explanation of things was not very apparent. And if some of that is like, hey, the character dialogue saying, do this thing, and then like I spaced for a minute, and then I didn't know what the hell it said, and there was no backlog of saying, do this thing, or if there was, it felt like deep in the menu systems for me to track that information. A lot of these jarring experiences led to some really clunky situations where docking my ship led to me exploding my ship because, like other games, when you get in the proximity of the thing you can interact with, it dynamically pops up with a do this, press this button for it to take over and kind of do this auto docking sequence. What wasn't obvious to me was the one step prior, I have to select things from far away without my mouse. I have to select it with E and then click on something to bring up the context menu to then press E again. It just felt like an extra step, and I made that mistake once or twice, but it took me far longer to kind of get to that process of figuring it out than I'd like, and I can only imagine that other people had this issue. So eventually, I'm on the space station, cool, the environment's dope, I'm really liking it, settling into the game's space. Now, I jacked this difficulty up to very hard, mainly because I'm just testing the waters. Most games have a designed difficulty approach, such as Armored Core, that has no customizable difficulty sliders. It has a designed difficulty that we as the players have to learn and overcome. This gives you difficulty option choices. Perhaps this is more of a Bethesda design decision, but what I've come to learn is very hard doesn't do anything for improving AI or creating more unique challenge. In fact, all it does is create a bullet spongy environment and your ability to take more damage. This is not the first time I've experienced that in the game, and in many times I'm willing to overcome these difficulties. That plus some of the starting hindrances of performance and design choices, that's one more threshold that just led me to start getting frustrated with this game, and I'm trying to give this game a chance. So I dropped the difficulty down a notch and I went into it, tried it again. It turns out there's a bit of a randomization in where AI is placed, if there's different NPCs. So the loot is different. Okay, another stage that I'm learning. Not a bad thing, just like, okay, this is part of that learning process. Like, where am I at? What customizing my gaming experience. And I find ultimately that this game kind of needs you to do that. You need to spend this time customizing your experience so you don't get frustrated and you continue to enjoy it. Mainly it came down to the enemies being bullet sponges and me just burning through ammunition and not having any left behind, and then 2 or 3 bullets the enemy shoots at me, my health is just absolutely chunked down. Even though I'm a crack shot in a lot of first-person shooters, the lack of sticky cover or peek shooting really makes it difficult to get engaged in these firefights in a way that you can tactfully win like you would if you were playing a first-person shooter. One of the things that I'm kind of sad that didn't make it into this Bethesda game is that VAT system from Fallout. I feel like that's that bullet time, that slowdown that allows you to kind of think in place of the peak shooting or sticky cover systems that give you those advantages of half cover and allow you to actually play this firefight game. It's missing, and it leads to basically just choosing to face tank a bunch of bullets because the enemies just gets to shoot free willy-nilly, and it timing it between reloads. They're also down in the cover too, so you peek up and all of a sudden you're just taking all this damage. It does make for a bit of a frustrating experience, but one that, again, brings me to realizing that this is not a first-person shooter. This is an RPG. Anybody familiar with RPGs may not experience this kind of problem, but people who are familiar with first-person shooters, I feel like, will stumble into these mistakes and will lead to frustrating experiences that don't exactly justify the bullet-spongy nature of things, leading me to adjusting my difficulty down to normal. I do feel like this is probably where I'll play most of my playtime in order to get progress into this game. And honestly advise other people to avoid the very hard difficulty settings unless you are familiar with this game or have completed it once or twice and your power scaling is up there, where very hard feels very easy because you're just power scaled. If your first time with this Bethesda experience, normal may be in fact the right way to play this game. Now, like I said, I haven't played a ton of this game, and content creators are getting these early embargoes to produce content and create a narrative to market this game, and they're harder and harder to avoid, and a lot of people are coming across these conflicting viewpoints. This game is great, it's a game of the year experience, it's a 10 of 10, it's exactly what I expected, and I just don't think this game is for everyone. In a space, and I think it honestly came out of a terrible time to even be nominated for Game of the Year. As far as I'm concerned, this game is starting itself off in the realm of 7 to 8. It's a good game, but I don't think it's a finished product. I think it's a Bethesda product. The people who are familiar with Bethesda games and know to get this game on PC, to get this game on Steam, and immediately start modding this game in order to fine-tune and tailor your experience. And that makes a lot of sense to me. This game with mods might be a great game. I can't say that just yet because I am playing this game on Game Pass, which I know many players to be choosing that as an option. From what I heard, Game Pass' highest selling market item is in fact the premium upgrade in the Game Pass marketplace. I myself chose that option as this is kind of my way of trying before I buy, and of course no shame in buying the early access to kind of get a head start, because this is just one of many games that's going to take several hours for me to truly give a finished review on, and I'd like to come back to this with a full, complete impression of this game if I can ever finish it. Now, I think they said the main story of this game is about 20 hours, and I certainly don't think I'm even close. I think I have about 20 hours to go from this point before I maybe even get to that end credit scene, if there is one. Now, I also heard that there's a few different New Game Plus options, and completion is just in the realm of a few hundred hours. So I don't foresee myself loving this game where I'm gonna stick with it for a few hundred hours. I feel like if I do spend several to 100 hours with this game, I still probably will only get maybe 60% things done in it or experience a large majority of it. I definitely would like to finish the narrative and explore some of the side quest options and see some of really what this game has to offer. If this game pulls me in further, I still see myself perhaps purchasing this game on Steam specifically for the mods, because it seems like this game is meant for mods. And I find myself at this stance of, if this game is great with mods, but not good without it, is it a good game? It's hard to sell. But if it is a good game, and if it does unveil itself to be something that keeps me playing, then it should be good enough to sell me on the full version on Steam. At this time, not so much. But I'm here to be proven wrong, and I'm here to try to do my best to just be honest and give you a fair opinion so that if you are still on the fence with purchasing this game or playing this game, perhaps we together can really see if this game is all that's cracked up to be. And that's about where I'm going to end it off on for the Starfield section. All right, for anybody who's been following my content knows I play Overwatch here, and this is another block of highlights coming right at you. He's down, he's down.
To the very end.
More in the right, back line.
There's the good ult. All right, we stopped. This is not bad. This is a pretty good run. So in this game with King Fats on tank, and a little cheeky positioning on my part, we were able to coordinate a really awesome strike to completely dominate this opposition. This might work. Take top right, Fats.
Going.
If you get a fat grab, just call me down.
Okay.
Come on, you Mikey, all the way.
Fat grab.
Gross. Gross.
Gross.
Gross.
Give me something.
Gross. I mean, like, we didn't even have to do all that, but we did it, and it was still fucking fat. Teamwork makes the dream work. For those who followed my content before know that Pharah very well might be my best hero, and sometimes my teammates can have a little bit too much fun enabling me in the sky. And here's what happens. Lucio? Thank you. Having way too much fun out here. Oh! Oh! Huh! No way! No way I got that boob! Ah! 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 Not every game is going to have me on the kill feed. In this game, our team is losing, and they're about to get a full capture point with no progress under our belt. And when I'm ready to hang up the towel, our team makes an amazing clutch call, pulls me right off the bench, and we go to sweep this opposition. Check this out. They won that round. Just take the L here. We got to win the next round. We can't let them get the point first. We got to. If we're gonna use the sim, we need to be the first one on points.
We got people down here, man.
Okay, good shit. Good call. We were able to get that perspective from V-Logic as I'm hanging my head down in the spawn room. He's over here cleaning point. With the first round in the bag, our team goes on to win this game in only 2 rounds. But we got to give a big shout out to Floaty Corn showing that extra work from Mercy. Mercy. Bro, I can't wait to see this play in a game, bro. Lastly, we got to play the game from V-Logic on Pharah. Is it the nano? Nope, it's the clean fucking run through. Look at this, clean, clean, clean. Nice. Let's rewind this back a little bit. All right, first things first. First things first, pick the diva. It's got the Discord now. Oh, okay, I like it. Nice pick on the Widow. Diva's Discord in 1. This game was really special to me because it showed King Fats and V-Logic working together in tandem while I just basically sat back and kind of rode the ride a little bit. Life Weaver? Oh, never mind. Don't chase him down that hard. They did a great job. Great call-outs, great follow-through, and a fantastic finish to an awesome session. Oh! Great grab, Fats! What? What? I really do take pride in the team building that we practice during our Overwatch sessions, and I absolutely love to focus when our team comes together and synergizes, because it's something that I think is rarely highlighted in the Overwatch community. So start sending me some of your clips. I'd love to feature you guys too. Hey, I want to thank everybody for making it this far in the video. I've been putting a lot of work into this one, and I have tons of ideas for future videos. I did want to include a bit of the weekly bloopers that I've been compiling from our Baldur's Gate session. But then I thought, you know what? I think I'm just going to save it and get more and make one big blooper reel from Baldur's Gate, because I've just been enjoying it so much. So instead, what I got for you is another awesome thing that happened this week. Me, as well as a ton of other members from our community. All right, not a ton. It was like a handful of us. But we all got past that Chapter 1 boss in Armored Core. So here is my completion.
I've looked into the enemy craft. It's an autonomous PCA craft, BALTEUS. You'll have to break its pulse armor to inflict meaningful damage. Pulse armor down. Now's your chance, Raven. Taking your comms link offline for now. That massive dose of coral nearly killed you. Please, you have to focus on winning this.
2 repair kits remain P at 50%.
Picking up a massive heat signature. Evasive action, Raven. The waves are intensifying. Raven, get clear.
1 repair kit remaining.
The enemy can't take much more.
Left shoulder ammunition at 50%.
Thank you again, everybody. You know the deal. Leave some feedback, like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. It keeps me going. Until next one.